What is up, guys? My name is Matt from Magic the Greening, and today I got another budget deck tech for you. It's going to be green-black Trial Cartouche. What exactly do I mean by trial and cartouche? Well, it's like this new thing from Amonkhet. You have different trials for each color and different cartouches for each color. And I decided to do green-black for this deck because the best trials are for green and black. We'll go over that in a second. If you guys want to go ahead and hit that like button, hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I do have a poll going right up here in the top right corner of what you want to see next week. You guys voted for this one pretty handsomely to see for this week, or for this episode, and for maybe the next episode you can choose one of the four in the top right corner. But let's get right into it. As you guys know, I like to go over the creatures first, but this time we're going to go over the cartouches and trials first because that's what the deck is kind of built around. We're going to play 4 copies of Trial of Ambition and 4 copies of Trial of Strength. Yes, these are the trials. We'll get to the cartouches in a second. Trial of Ambition is just repeated removal. It also sacrifices. They have to sacrifice a creature, which is bad against token strategies, but very good when they have indestructible 10/10s out, which is really, really nice. Trial of Ambition really stops the Ulamog plan for Aetherworks Marvel decks. You know, they start putting things out when they spin with Aetherworks Marvel, things like Orla Virtuosa, so they can create those tokens and try to win that way. Trial of Strength puts out 4/2 creatures out, which is just really good. 2 toughness does hurt it a little bit. Things like Dread Wanderer can just chump block it and they recur Dread Wanderer, which is somewhat annoying for us. But it's just a 4/2 creature repeated for 3 mana is really good. On to the cartouches, and we're actually not playing a full 4 of one of them. We're going to play 4 copies of Cartouche of Strength and 3 copies of Cartouche of Ambition. You would think, since we're playing 4 of each trial, we'd play 4 of each cartouche, so we get the consistency of always being able to replay them. Actually saw the need to play less cartouches because the trials are repeatable. So if you have more trials, it's actually better than having more cartouches, especially since the trials do a lot more for us. But anyway, the Cartouche of Strength is removal in itself. You may have it fight another target creature when you put this under a creature, which is really good, especially if you put it maybe on a 4/2 beast token that your Trial of Strength got you. So that's really nice, and it gives it +1/+1 in trample, which is just insane. Trample is kind of an overlooked mechanic. It is really good. I don't know why more people don't run things with trample. But yeah, and then Cartouche of Ambition gives your guy lifelink. Imagine getting both of these cartouches on a 4/2 beast. All of a sudden you have a 6/4 trample lifelink that you really didn't have to do much for. And in the process you remove one of their creatures, put a -1 counter on their guy. You take down their board while you build yours up. And that's kind of what this deck is all about. I might as well talk about the last 4 non-creature spells we're playing in the deck. We're going to play 4 Benefaction of Ronus. This is a 3 mana sorcery. I know we have a lot of 3 mana stuff. Bear with me though. 3 mana sorcery that you reveal the top 5 cards and you put 2 enchantments, or I mean an enchantment or a creature or both into your hand, the rest into the graveyard. This is really good because we're playing 17 creatures and we're playing 15 enchantments. So you're most likely going to hit 2 things with this. If not, you'll hit 1. I've never had it where this missed completely. So it can be card advantage for you, which is really nice. Unfortunately, you put the rest into the graveyard, which we only have Scrap Heap Scrounger, which can come back from the grave, which is fine. But let's now get into the creatures. The creatures were a little bit more difficult for me to choose, but I'll give my reasoning behind each one. We'll start with the earlier drops and move up the curve here. We're going to play 4 copies of Narnam Renegade and 4 copies of Scrap Heap Scrounger. Narnam Renegade is got Death Touch, which is really good if you put a Cartouche of Strength on it, and it becomes a 2/3 with Trample and Death Touch, and it fights target creature, which can just be really good. They have some huge threat. Narnam Renegade can fight them, and there you go. It's also 1 drop. We're also, 4 Scrap Heap Scrounger. Just talked about that. Your Benefaction of Ronus can dump this into the grave if you want to get another creature, or if this creature dies and you're on the offensive, you can get this back. There's lots of ways for us to get creatures into the graveyard. Scrap Heap was kind of the reason I wanted to play more creatures in this deck, more than you know, spells or non-creature spells. So we're playing 4 of those. Just because it's a good early body, you put any cartouches on it, it gets out of hand. The last 3 creatures, we're gonna play 3 arborback stompers, 4 bone pickers, and 2 plated crushers. Arborback Stomper is a 5 forge with trample for 5 mana, which is decent. It's not the best, but when it enters, it gains you 5 life, which can be really good. This deck is very, very grindy, and it can outlast other decks just because it gets huge amounts of card advantage in weird ways. I mean, you play a trial, you play a cartouche, you return the trial, you replay the trial, and you just got, you know, double advantage from that. Arborback Stomper is just a kind of a good late game piece for us. Bone Picker can just be a 1 mana 3/2 flying death touch, which is also really nice. And when you start putting cartouches on it, it gets really out of hand. As for the Plated Crusher, you could probably take one of these off, maybe add a 25th land here. I mean, I know it's a 7-drop, but it is very, very nice once you get it out. A 7/6 trample hexproof is really good, especially when you have like a whole bunch of 4/2 beast tokens out. You know, they have a whole bunch of -1 counters on their dude. Their team's really weak. They can't spot this with removal. The only chance they have is to counter this, which most of the times they're going to want to counter your other stuff. The good thing about this deck is if they let one of your trials resolve, I'm talking about a blue-red or a mono-blue matchup here, it's gonna get double value, and at some point they're gonna be forced to counter your trials so you keep using them, or counter your cartouches so you don't get them back to your hand. So things like Plated Crusher can kind of sneak by counter or control decks, which is really, really nice. Again, can't be spotted with removal. And when you start putting cartouches on it, you can start fighting creatures. You can get lifelink. Just an 8/7 trample lifelink hexproof is insane. And it returns a trial to your hand, then you replay the trial. This deck gets pretty insane. A lot of these creatures are in here just because the cartouches fit well with them, and Plated Crusher is no different. Already talked about how many lands we're playing. We're playing 24. It's a budget deck. It's going to cost about $18, so don't expect any hissing quagmires. We're going to play 12 forest and 12 swamp, and you guys might want to play a 25th land if you want to go the way, because we know we're playing some arborback stompers and some Plated Crushers. So you might think we need more lands, but most of the time we're going to be playing 1, 2, 3 mana stuff with our enchantments and our creatures. So I didn't feel the need to play too many of that. Plated Crusher is kind of an alternate win condition if we can't just absolutely just keep beating down and removing their board. So yeah, on to the sideboard. And I told you I have kind of plans for a whole bunch of things here in the sideboard. Sideboard costs, unfortunately, about $10, which is about over half of the price of the main deck, but I can explain. We're going to play 4 copies of Dissenter's Deliverance against things like Aetherworks Marvel, Mardu vehicles. I know that's becoming less relevant, but it's still very good against Mardu vehicles. There's a lot of token strategies using servos. I know this isn't the best against that, but I guess if you wanted to, you can hit one of those, or maybe they have a Metallic Mimic that is not doing well. This is spotted removal. We're going to play 3 Heroic Interventions, just in case your plan gets things like Fumigator, Sweltering Suns. Sweltering Suns is pretty good against our deck, especially with our Beast tokens, so Heroic Intervention can stop sweepers. So maybe if you're playing blue-red control, or anything really with red, that you think they're going to bring in a Sweltering Suns, Heroic Intervention is quite literally a good counter to that, and can keep you guys from being removed. We're going to play 3 copies of Lost Legacy to basically get Ulamogs out of people's decks. That's kind of why it's in this matchup. There's a lot of mono blue control decks right now that just play Ulamog, or Simic ramps that play Ulamog. Of course, then there's the Aetherworks Marvel deck. This is good against, so Lost Legacy can just take out their huge guys. Unfortunately, it can't be an artifact, so it can't hit things like Torrential Gear Hulk or Verdurous Gear Hulk, which is unfortunate for us, but Lost Legacy is good against other stuff. We're going to play 2 copies of Watchers of the Dead. There's some graveyard strategies going on here. Green-Black Delirium, still a thing I see sometimes. There's things like blue-red, kind of like where they just fill up the grave with instants and sorceries. They get really big Enigma Drakes. They get Cryptic Serpents that cost not a lot. This can just help get rid of their entire graveyard. Things like Torrential Gearhulk, they're like, great, now I have to put 2 things in my grave for my Gearhulk to pick, and then you can kind of control their graveyard, which is so 2 Watches of the Dead. It's pretty good in that. And then this is against the token strategies. We're going to play 3 copies of Yahini's Expertise. Very good, very, very good against token strategies right now. Against Abzan tokens or black-white tokens. Because even with Metallic Mimic, the servos will only be 2/2s, and this gives everything -3, -3. This is also very good against zombies. It's a good sweeper against zombies. Not many people expect this. They expect things like Sweltering Suns or Fumigate, but Yahini's Expertise, since we're not playing any red or white cards, will have to do for us. That's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to, go ahead and vote for the next episode's deck tech. Unfortunately, I will actually not be at home, and these are all pre-recorded, so I won't be able to, like, you know, talk to you guys like I am right now. I'm going on this huge trip, and anyway, I'm gonna have to edit stuff on the road, which can be annoying, but I'm doing a whole bunch of recording today. Anyway, so go ahead and vote for what next deck tech you want to see. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.